probably have 11 people who know how to play football pretty well. Okay? Any good football players here? Oh my God! what country am I in? Hold on a minute. Okay. So let's just take the first 11. Let's see. So 3, 6, 8, 11. Okay, so you're my football team. I'm the coach. Does anybody here know the rules of football? Okay, good. Okay. So we got lots of coaches and lots of people who are. Yes. Okay. In Scrum we call people like that chickens. I kind of prefer the term spectator. That is, people who know all about the game and know exactly what the team should be doing. So let's, I got a group of friends who also play football. Maybe they, maybe we can have a game with them. And guy's name is Pele, kind of older fellow, but boy, he really knows the game, and his friends, they also really know the game. Which one of this group of teams here, which one of them's going to win when we play the game? Kind of hard to say, because we're a bunch, we've never played together. I'm not even sure if the whole team really knows the rules. Okay, kick it with your foot good, hit it with your hand bad, offside so the referee can decide the game. Okay, that much I know. If we go against an experienced team, they know how to play together, they know the rules, they've got a well-developed strategy. Okay, so one of the things that we need is a team, if we want to lower the risk, we need a team that's worked together. This is one of the things you discover when you're doing Agile, that it's actually better to bring projects to established teams than to bring individuals to projects. Because they know each other, they know what they can do, they have a lot of expertise, their estimates are better. This is one of the main success factors. So we have the experience both in the domain, okay? If I take my team of soccer players, football players, and I try to get them to play American football, yes, well, if we're a good team as a soccer team, we'll probably not be bad as an American football team either, but we're not, we're good athletes, but we're not really trained. So we're going to have a lot of learning to do. The last thing to do is get the team involved in the sales process. I did a retrospective once at a software development company, 150 people on three different locations. And one of the interesting things that came out was the salesman there said, boy, I would really like to get the developers involved in the estimating process. It is so frustrating, they never have time. And in the same retrospective, and the people, they write down all these notes in parallel so they don't know what the other people are going to say. The developers are saying, it is so frustrating. Every time we get a project, sales has estimated it, and we have no idea what's going on, why they've done it, and all we know is that when the project is late, it's our fault. Okay? And when these two people came up and presented their views, there was this long silence in the room. Wait a minute. What are we doing wrong here? So, last thing, you want a customer who shares the goal. If the customer wants to put in a contract where you have to pay a penalty if it's late and he pays you a bonus if it's early, you're going to make sure it's really in his interest that the project be early. Okay, because it's very obvious what his interest is if the project is late. So what I've tried to do is put together a template. Obviously, there's no, these are patterns. They might work for you, they might not work for you. Take them, try them out, add salt and pepper to taste. There's no perfect, each project is different. There's no perfect way to do every one. But what I would suggest you do, if you get an RFP that's written classically, anybody here getting requests for proposals? Anybody getting requests for proposals written in user stories? One person all the way in the back. Yeah, it's still pretty rare. I work with a couple of different software companies in Switzerland, and as the Agile ones, and they're starting to see RFPs written in user stories. But if the RFP is not written in user stories, you have a big challenge because they're thinking phase model. So they want to deliver you a huge specification and say exactly what they want. So if you get something like that, I would suggest trying to get a study, or do it internally. You might have to finance it yourself. The customer might pay for it, depending on the relationship. But try to specify the project in user stories. I think I explain why a little bit later, but basically, the great thing about user stories is it's really binary. if the user story is fulfilled or not. Because for each user story you attach acceptance tests, for each user story you've got a collection of green lights. When all the user stories are done, the project is done. It also makes the discussion about, is this a change, is this something new or not, fairly simple. Because if it's a new user story, then it's something new, and if it's not, if it fits into an existing user story, then it's not something new. Having an experienced team means your team knows its velocity. And if you know your velocity, it becomes possible to calculate how long it will take you to do a certain amount of work. Obviously, estimating there's a lot of uncertainty in estimating. And so you can talk about buffering. This is something Mike Cohn writes about in his books. Some of these approaches are pretty mathematical. They may appeal to you, they may not. But I'll show you how some of them work. And as I said, prioritizing the implementation so that you minimize the impact of things going wrong if things don't go the way you planned. So what I've done here is I put together a kind of a hypothetical project, and these are all just nonsense stories that give us something to think about or to fill the space. Basically, this is a very common way of specifying functionality in an agile context. We have the user. We're building systems for people or for stakeholders, and so whoever that person or stakeholder is, that's your first column. Then that person has goals, things that they want to accomplish, and then we can talk about, well, what are the features that the system provides so that the person can achieve those goals. Okay? This gives us a lot of handles to prioritize the functionality. How important is the user to the system? How important is the goal to the user? How important is the feature to that, to achieving that goal? Anyway, so the first thing we want to do is we want to take the requirements that we get and map them out into user stories. It's kind of interesting. It creates a certain transparency about what the system is going to do, because a list of user stories is anywhere from 1 to 3 pages long, whereas the specification can be several hundred pages for the same system. So what you want to do is you want to get your team involved in the sales process. Okay, and so you might actually ask the team to create the user stories. And basically, what I've done here is I've laid out the basic Scrum flow. For any project that you're working, you've got your product backlog. That's a list of things which the teams could do. They get together at the beginning of the sprint. They agree what's going to happen in that sprint. That's called the sprint backlog. Then they've got somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks to work on it. At the end, there's a review where they show the customer what they've done. Goal is to produce finished software. We've got this formal definition of done, or done as the XP people like to call it, and this possibility of continuous improvement. So how do we get this team involved in the sales process? Well, it's really quite simple. You've got the product owner who's responsible for giving the team work, and the salesman simply says, okay, I've got this RFP, product owner, would you please ask your team to evaluate this? Okay, and the team, what they should do is they should produce a list of user stories, and they should estimate those stories. Okay, so now the salesman has a basis for making his offer, and the team has seen it, the team has asked their questions, the team also stands behind the estimates that they've made. Okay, so the first thing that happens is we take our list of user stories and we've added another column, and that's the size. Now, I've done this here in story.